The 1967 war really created dynamics that transformed and stabilized the region to a certain extent. That Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty, which was finally concluded in 1979, took Egypt off the table in the Arab-Israeli conflict, made major Arab-Israeli war extremely unlikely, and launched the Arab-Israeli peace process led by the United States that has been going on ever since. And so really from shortly after 1967, from the early 1970s until about 7 years ago, the U.S. led a fairly stable coalition of states that maintained an order in the Middle East that advantaged American interests, it advantaged the interests of the Arab states, and it advantaged the interests of Israel. That regional order is what broke down after the Arab uprisings of 2011. So with the Arab uprisings of 2011, again, we've seen an upending of the region, intense competition between major powers within the region over who's going to control the new regional order, who's going to set the terms. And it hasn't stabilized yet. I don't know whether we are now, again, at the beginning of the end of a period of instability. But it strikes me that there are some opportunities for new relationships between Israel and some of the Arab states' common interests, including facing down a threat from Iran, facing the threat of violent extremism from ISIS and other sorts of groups. And so there are possibilities for constructing a new kind of regional order. One question is, how involved is the United States going to be in trying to shape that regional order? Another question is, what's the role of Arab-Israeli peace, and particularly Israeli-Palestinian peace, in anchoring that regional order? Back in the late 60s and early 70s, Arab-Israeli diplomacy was crucial to building a new regional order that lasted for a number of decades and really worked to the advantage of the United States and its allies. I think it will be important that whatever else the United States is able to do in bringing Arab states and Israel together, that they don't ignore that core dimension of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Back in the early 70s, in the wake of the 1967 war, Henry Kissinger and President Nixon invested a great deal in Arab-Israeli diplomacy and helped build a new, more stable regional order with Arab-Israeli peace led by the United States at its center. I don't know if Donald Trump is going to be able to manage that hat trick, but he certainly seems to have the ambition to move that issue forward. And I think to the extent that it can be moved forward, it will have a positive effect for regional stability as a whole. It'll facilitate Arab-Israeli cooperation on a host of other issues. What's it going to take to get there? That's a much tougher issue, frankly, because the obstacles to peacemaking between Israelis and Palestinians today have less to do with the regional environment, less to do with outsiders, than they have to do with domestic politics in Israeli society and Palestinian society. Neither has a strong leader with broad legitimacy to make big compromises. And in fact, both sides might be inching closer toward a political transition. So it's a period of great uncertainty for Israelis and Palestinians, and I think that puts them in a place where they're less likely to take risks for peace.